This is Reality with Partiality. And today in studio is my guest, Miss Nancy Marin. Nancy, how are you? I
Good
know my
morning,
Percy.
Percy. Good
There you
morning,
go.
Percy.
Much
I'm doing
obliged.
great. Thank you so much. It's been quite a while. We should not leave it so long next time, but I'm very, very happy to see you and very happy to be here.
Yes, I've, I've got to make an admission. The last exchange we had uh, in writing, uh, on social media, in the inbox. You spanked me a little bit, and I deserved it because at the time I was partisan. Since then, I don't wear ID badges, but I associate with all. I'm apolitical and likewise irreligious. So I don't have any ID badges, but I associate without getting entangled. Now, with your kind permission, tell us about your early childhood, uh, the environment in which you grew up.
Well, the environment where I grew up, um, I think some would think it was a little rough. I thought it was just perfect. I had a
Okay.
wonderful childhood. I grew up in my grandfather's cattle ranch. It
Mm,
was called More Force Estates in Georgeville. Um,
okay.
I fancied myself a little cowgirl then. Um, tasted a lot of horse hoof all over.
Hmm.
Um, grew up picking the eggs in the morning for breakfast.
Hmm.
Working the farm, planting grass by hand before going to school, and that was all done before 6 a.m. So I grew up waking up early, doing the work, still going to school, getting an education, and coming back to the farm, and it goes over again. But it was so much fun. My grandfather raised me. He was a very wise old man, very well connected in Belize, in Mexico, and I was very blessed to to grow up next to him.
Okay, so your granddad, he was born in Lebanon and made Belize his home.
He adopted Belize as his home. He left Lebanon, running away, obviously, from war and all the hardships that they were facing in Lebanon in
Hmm.
the in the in that era, and
Yes.
and then they migrated to Mexico and then to
Hmm.
Belize. So Mexico is where they changed their names. Their
Okay.
surname is Hannah, and they changed it to Juan, which is just a translation. Then they
Okay.
made Belize their home, and unlike some people that make Belize their home, but they bank somewhere else or whatever, what I witnessed with my grandfather, that he really fell in love with Belize. Belize was his home, and did what he could to make it better.
Yes.
Died in Belize and was buried in Belize. Never wanted to go back home. Belize was just his home.
Now, I don't like the word raise because you only raise cattle. But the way granddaddy nurtured you, he 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 involved you. He involved you even when he was having private meetings, right?
Yes, that was a big difference that I saw, versus like other friends and even my siblings. Whenever adults were around, other children were asked to leave the room. This was adult conversation. With
Hmm.
Grandpa, it was different. I was able to sit down with them, sit on the table or sit on his lap. I was able to get involved in conversation. In fact, it doesn't matter what the conversation was, he would always ask my opinion. Even before
Yes.
he gave his, he would say, "What do you think?" or "What would you like?" And I had
Yes.
to, I had to think on my toes because I had to have an opinion. Even though
Okay,
I was
okay.
female, I saw a lot of female little girls being told, you speak when you're spoken to. That was
Right,
that was not my story. I was able to speak. I
right.
still don't understand when people don't want girls to speak.
I understand that. So you saw a lot of, well, two part. Granddaddy, to your mind and recollection, wasn't political overtly. He was just a good businessman who maybe had political friends, right?
He certainly, I assisted on both parties. He was friends with Mr. Price. He was also friends with people like Theodoso Choa, Joe Andrews. They were always at the house.
Mm,
I think Mr. Barrow,
mm.
it was also always at the house, being friends with my uncle Eduardo Juan. So I grew up on with knowing both sides, and I still do.
You met many of these from
As a little
your from
girl,
as a there you go. Okay. But also during your playtime, you played with the boys, right? And girls, if there were girls, right?
I didn't see much girls back in those days.
Okay, okay.
Politicians, not at Grandpa's house, but yes.
There you go. So you climbed the trees, you wrestled the calves, you did whatever. So you got hands-on, you got good hands-on practical experience from what you did, there on the farm. Okay.
Well, my the punishment that I used to get when I would be rude or extremely outspoken, because I've always been extremely outspoken, was that
Okay.
I had to wash the pigsty.
Mm,
That was my punishment. I still don't like rearing pigs because of
yes.
that.
Yes, but that would begin, maybe you didn't realize back then, but your environmental awareness, right?
Environmental awareness,
Environmental.
work, yes, environmental awareness, work ethics, but also the philosophy behind it,
Hmm.
to clean
Hmm.
out the pigsty, which is
Yes.
where we are today.
Yes, we are today, figuratively, literally.
Yeah.
Uh, so then, as time Emmanuel, right? You completed, schooling as far as they could take out there in the West, junior college and all that. And then what?
Well, I attended Sacred Heart Primary. Had a
Hmm.
lot of really positive influence in the teachers that were there. Principal
Hmm.
gave them a lot
Hmm.
of trouble. And then Sacred Heart High School. I was expelled from Sacred Heart High School, and then I ended up graduating from Mount Carmel. Um, Mount Carmel High School was back then created by Father John for young people that didn't fit anywhere else, and I was sent there. Was very very happy to eventually be there. At first, it was I was feeling disappointed in myself, but slowly I found that together, the other kids and myself and the teachers, we had mostly volunteer teachers from the US and from Ireland, some of them. um, Very good people, very good influence. I ended up graduating from there. While I was in high school, I decided to join the volunteer force in the BDF. My granddad thought my dad thought that was not a very good idea, so I didn't have his support. um, I did it anyway. A- and I met a lot of the BDF soldiers that are now of influence in Belize. I met them back then in a volunteer force. Um, so learned a lot from them too, but always thinking about how I can serve, how I can learn more. After that, after graduation, I went to the US. Um, my first year, I studied at LA Trade Technical. I did journalism. And then I got bored, and what I really wanted to do was something in politics. And I ended up moving to Honduras because of my job in modeling. And I ended up getting a degree in international relations and diplomacy and working for Ralph Fonseca. He invited me to come work for him. He didn't want me directly involved in the front line in politics, so I didn't work on his campaign or anything like that. I did crisis management, and he sent me back to study to get certified in crisis management and fixing.
Well, wow. You joined the volunteer BDF, but yes, you did modeling abroad. So you were this twin engine, right? Just becoming, the best version of yourself. You're wearing the skirt and in this pageant, and then you're wearing the pants and you're in the BDF. Yes?
Right.
Very
Right.
much feminine. I mean, look, I don't know that people realize, but you're just being yourself. You're just being you. Comfortable in your skin and venturing out. So that's you. Now, tell us a little bit more about the pageantry and modeling career. Tell us a little bit more, because you're just being, what, in your 20s? Teens to 20s?
18, 19.
Okay. Tell us about that. I mean, you're ballooning.
Well, the modeling actually wasn't something I purposely was seeking. Remember, I wanted to study international relations. I wanted to be involved in politics. My father wanted me to study law. So his punishment was, well, if you're going to study that, you work and you pay it yourself, because he's only limited to what he was going to help me with. He didn't, if I'm not going to do what he wants me to do. And so I walked into a mall one time in LA, and they were recruiting for models. It was just to model watches and jewelry. So it was just my hands. And so that's where I started modeling my hands in the mall. It was not good pay. It was, sometimes it cost me more to get there than what they would pay me, but I saw it as an entry. And then I believe in 1995, there was a contest called the International Cover Model. And that was in Irvine, in California. And my grandmother said, oh, you should go to that. And I was like, oh, let's go to that. Let's see what's up. And I went to that. Felt initially very out of place because I walked into the wrong room. I walked into where the high fashion models were. And I was certainly not high fashion. So everybody was tall and towering over me and fully makeup. And I was wearing a tennis shoe and jeans, t-shirt, and no makeup. And then somebody noticed I was in the wrong room, and they're like, oh, you should be in the commercial room. So they took me to a different room. And then I still felt out of place because I'm coming from Belize. I'm not used to all of that attention, all the cameras and everything. And I almost left. And lucky for me, a lady called Gina Ambrose, caught my, I caught her attention, and she took me to makeup and took me to wardrobe, and then I kind of looked different. So I never grew up thinking I was a supermodel or I could be a beauty queen, anything like that. But they saw something in me, thankfully, that I didn't see in myself. And then I ended up that summer doing an advertisement for Crystal Light, and that's where it started. It ballooned after that, and I ended up doing work in all of Latin America because, of course, they realized I could speak Spanish. I had the Latin look and all of that. So yeah, it ballooned after that. Very, very coincidental. It was need. I needed to make money, and coming out of high school from a country like Belize, I didn't know how to do it. And
And then you adapted a lot of that to Belize, right? Working with Love FM a little bit, coordinating with them and all that to expand the horizon of modeling here in Belize, right?
yes, I came back to Belize, participated in some pageants. I ended up being Miss Teen Belize at 19. Represented Belize abroad for Miss Teen Belize. And then I went to Love FM. Joe Balona was a friend, and he was doing the Stereo More pageant, Mrs. Stereo More, and I participated in the first one that they produced. And then I didn't think I won that one, but I was in the finals. And then I helped them produce a pageant after that. I got to love the pageant world so much that I created Miss Rainforest International. It was the first international pageant to be produced in Belize. And
Okay.
on the first year, we had 8 participants from around the world. It grew to about 16, um, and then politics destroyed it. But it was we made a very good impression. People in the pageant world in the region actually still talk about Miss Rainforest and how it should have been continued.
Okay. Before we end this section, give me a paragraph about each of these three persons. We'll start with Mr. Price, then Mr. Ralph Fonseca, and then Don Hector. Premier turned Prime Minister Price. Give me a paragraph about him, your impression.
I remember Mr. Price to be a very patient person. I always remember a phrase he used always was economy of words. Don't say too much and don't say too little. He always said that and he lived by it. He was always very, very patient to speak, and that's an impression that has stayed with me forever. I never heard him get angry and shout, at least in the environment that I was in. And I always admired that because in my family, coming from a Lebanese background, they always shout. So I was always impressed with that.
Okay. You liked his brand of politics?
I liked what he spoke of politics.
Okay.
Later on, when I grew up, I was a little disappointed with some of the actions, but
Okay.
could have been influenced by other people
Gotcha.
within the party.
Okay. Mr. Ralph Fonseca, the late.
Big Bad Ralph, as we used to refer to him. Um, I think Ralph was a visionary. I don't think that Belize has seen a better economist than him. Um, I was blessed to know the man out of politics, the man behind the scenes. He was a very kind man, very generous. If there's one thing anybody can say about Ralph is if he gives you his word, he's a man of his word. He will keep his word to the last. I did not like his politics. His politics was too capitalistic for me. Although he always told me he's a capitalist with a socialist heart. He hid much of that socialist heart.
Mhm.
But I believe that he was who kept the PUP going financially. Did a very good job with that. But yeah, I didn't like his politics. I never supported it, and his type of politics is what made me resign. I resigned in 2001, and that resignation letter was what earned me the name as traitor of the PUP, because
Oh,
I held a mirror in front of them that they did not like to see, and Ralph's only response was thanks for your candid.
oh. Um, I don't know. When, well, it's not my business.
Mhm.
But it seemed to me that after Mr. Price brought up PUP and hold on the PUP, Don Hector also, he a Mr. Price PUP? Don Hector?
He was in Mr. Price's PUP, yes. Dong Hector is related to my mother. He is some distant cousin of my mother, and I only found that out later on in politics.
Okay.
But I didn't grow up close to Dong Hector. I had seen him around, obviously,
Mhm.
but it was only when we started forming the Belize People's Front that Dong Hector
Ah,
was closer to me. Dong Hector is actually one of the founding members of the Belize People's Front,
is
and
that right?
that is because of the influence of Mr. Price. I think Dong Hector had given several interviews about why
Okay,
he was part of the Belize People's Front.
got you.
Mr. Price, in the time when he was sick, he told Dong Hector, myself, and many others that Belize needs a new revolution, and
Okay.
that revolution needs to include justice and prosperity for the people, which is
Mm,
why those are the words that we used for BPF initially. And when he told that to Dong Hector in person, Dong Hector came to see me and he said, "Have you heard these words?" And I said, "Yes, I have," from Mr. Price. And he told me that Mr. Price told him that, and that he thinks that something needs to be done. And I
okay.
said, "Well, I'm on top of it. This is what I want to do. I want to form a new party because the PUP is not the PUP that we were a part of before. It has completely changed thanks to Ralph, and then went a little farther down the hill with Mr. Briseño. And Dong Hector agreed with me, and he helped me to form the Belize People's Front.
Okay. So we're at the Belize People's Front. Uh, these terms sometimes call it due to naivete, but people get turned off by some of the terms. What is Belize People's Front policy view about the have-nots? Whether we say the poor, what is the view?
I I usually do not use the term the poor.
Okay.
I I put all of us in one circle called the working class of Belize. The
Okay.
foundation, we are the foundation of our country.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and which takes us back to my resignation letter to Ralph, when I told him that the party was forming a pyramid economy.
Okay.
In that pyramid economy, you have about 61, 62 families that are on top of the pyramid, reaping all the benefits of the country,
Mm-hmm.
taking advantage of all the resources. The
Mm-hmm.
foundations of the country was suffering. The people were not getting any kind of privilege, any kind of relief, anything like that. We're not the people that are getting the big contracts. We're not. Our children are not getting the best scholarships because those are all taken by the top. And I told him that though that creates hardships for the foundation, and the foundation was cracking, and they were gonna destroy not just the country, the working class. They were going to destroy the party while they were at it. And they didn't like that. But that is the way I view it. And I think that we're still in that era of pyramid economy. And when the foundations, and I always use, for example, a building. If the foundation is weak, it will not uphold the building. And I sincerely believe that that is why Belize has not progressed to where we deserve, to our potential. We're not living our potential because we're carrying the weight of those families, of those the political elite, and the trickle down system that they created, that the PUP and the UDP created, is not getting to the foundations. We're not receiving. And I sincerely believe in the bottoms up system. And that's why the Belize People's Front was created around that philosophy, that government needs to invest at the bottom, and then that needs to raise. We need to ensure that our foundation is solid, that our people can withstand. And the heavy taxation, the bribery that happens, the corruption is really, really not helping with strengthening the foundations, with strengthening the working class.
Oh boy. So, okay, the rising tide floats all boats. So, central to the Belize People's Front is an economic plan that is bottoms up, right?
Correct.
Approach.
It's a bottoms up approach. It has to be.
Okay. Well, you went there. You use the C word, corruption. So what is the tolerance of the Belize People's Front for corruption?
It must be zero tolerance. And we must show the people justice, because our people, I believe, has not seen social justice. We've not seen personal justice, and it is because of the corruption. It is because we vote in leaders that honestly do not believe that they should be held accountable. They believe that they go in there in a position of privilege, and that the vote that we gave them the right to do whatever they wanted to do, and that the people have no right to question them. They get offended when you question them. And I for the life of me, I would not want a Belize People's Front government that can tolerate that. I believe that these people need to be brought to justice, made an example of, so that never again in the history of our country a leader can think that they can abuse power, that they can belittle our people, that they can belittle our constitution, and that's fine. That should never happen again in the history of our country.
Okay. But I want to draw a distinction before I challenge you with this question.
Sure.
In Central America, we've always been democratic. Unlike our neighbors, all of them, they have come through dictatorships, including Guatemala.
Correct.
Guatemala has arrested and charged, imprisoned vice president, president, and so on. But they have a structure that, with the help of the US, they've been able to do it. CICIG, you familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay. So, because to rein in corruption, you have to be able to successfully, in court, right, prosecute. Are you willing to go that far here in Belize to see people be held accountable, not just small potatoes being imprisoned, but the big people, including ministers of government, right, for corruption?
I would say especially ministers of government and their CEOs.
Okay. Okay. I'm writing it. I'm taking notes, sir. Okay.
Oh, you can hold me accountable to what I said today.
Uh-huh. Okay, now let's move a little bit into the area you work in, the environment, the field of the environment. People may not realize, but you are an environmentalist, right?
I'm an environmentalist and a humanist by heart. I
Okay.
actually started my public life in the environmental field, working with diverse NGOs.
Mm-hmm. Tell us.
I sat on the board on different levels, including the spokesperson for FCD, which is Friends for Conservation and Development.
Mm-hmm.
They co-manage the Chickabul Forest Reserve. I spent
Mm-hmm.
many years with them, learned a lot from them, hiked to the Chickabul Natural Arch, learned all about the chateros coming over to Belize, why that happened. I went over and on the Guatemala side, I hiked there too. I think that
Yes.
that was something that not many people, especially not many women, did, and I was very proud of being able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I worked on with Rainforest Alliance and that end across the border. I
Mm-hmm.
worked with APAMO, which is the umbrella for NGOs here in Belize.
Mm-hmm.
Um, did a stint with Bladen, just diverse NGOs. So I really believe that Belize is something special. We're something unique. And there must be a balance. I totally agree with those that say that we must take advantage of our natural heritage for economic purposes, and that is true. But we need to be careful. We need to be careful where we're taking from. For example, I get very worried when I see the type of concessions that are given to log the mountain pine ridge,
Okay.
because that is tapping into our water reserves up there. That is the origin of the water source, not just for us here in Cayo on the south, but also for the Flores Petén. So we're responsible for a whole another section of humanity. And I know when I mention that, some people always tell me, "Why are you worried about Guatemala for? Those are our enemies." But the humanist part of me does not see borders. Obviously, the political side of me has to know that there are borders and that there are things we do and things we don't do with a country that has a claim over us.
Mm-hmm.
But water is essential for human. So when I
Yeah.
see the type of concessions that we saw through corruption, where Minister Habet has given a concession for 40,000 acres for 30 years to his son up in the
Ooh.
mountain Pine Ridge, um,
Ooh.
that is very, very alarming to the environmentalists in me. And to see that this is being done by a minister responsible for environment, that's a dagger in the heart of any environmentalist. To have witnessed I call it the total destruction of our bald hills in Baldebeacon, where when we used to drive up there when I was serving in the BDF, and we used to go up there with the British. It was a training ground, but you could see all green, beautiful. You could see the hawks flying above you, and you go up there now, and they're all Mennonite houses, all owned by the Mennonite community up in the Bald Hills. um, that is heart wrenching for any Belizean, but especially for an environmentalist that used to go up there to do environmental work, to do research, to do study. We had students going up there from abroad to do studies, and that is all gone, and it was taken from Belize silently.
Wow. Is this the constituents you reside in? Where you have your, where if you were to run again, you'd run it? Where
And
you
no,
contest?
it's not
Not
my
that one.
constituency. My constituency is Kaya Northeast.
Northeast. Okay.
But it when it comes to the environment and when it comes to the economy and the survival of our people, I don't
Mhm.
believe in constituency. I work across the board in any
Yeah.
constituency that is needed.
Well, you're the leader of the party. Let's talk about, you know, business by and large, right? But also, down your alley because you inherited, you inherited from your grandpapa, you know. Well, let's start with the ostrich farm and food security. I've also heard, maybe I heard wrong, but is where is this little village on the way to Hopkins? I don't know if you have business down there. Uh, Anyway, start with the ostrich farm because it is only and maybe the first ostrich farm in the country, right?
That's
When
correct.
how you came up with this one?
Um, the first exposure I had to ostrich was again my grandfather because he would tell me stories about different countries he would visit. He spent
Mhm.
some time in Africa, and he talked about the ostrich. And for some reason, as a child, I fell in love with the ostrich, the stories he told me. And it wasn't
Okay.
even a book. He would describe it with words because I didn't see a picture or anything.
Uh
Uh,
huh.
and I told him then I want an ostrich. And he said, I
Ah.
can't have an ostrich. Well, the week before that, I wanted the moon, of course, and he didn't get me the moon. And so, so the ostrich, he told me I can't have an ostrich because we don't have them in Belize, and the
Mm.
plane can't bring them, and all the other things. And I didn't care about all any of the excuses. That was noise. I just wanted an ostrich. I didn't
Okay.
get an ostrich then.
Mhm.
And but when I was living in LA, I was on my way to Palm Springs and we were
Mhm.
going to go to the spa with friends. And I
Mhm.
saw a sign just on the cutoff that said ostrich farm and volunteers needed. And I told
Okay.
my friends, stop me right here. I'm not going to the spa. This is where I'm going. And they're like, oh, you're crazy. We've planned the weekend. Hotel is paid. Hotel is booked. I didn't care about anything. I was like, I don't really care. Just leave me here.
Yeah.
So they left me and I walked in and, met the owner, and it was a female owner. She was
Mhm.
a vet.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I was just blown away to see that this farm was woman female owned, and she was the head of it, and she was doing ostriches, and
Right.
it's just super exciting. I spent all of my vacation time from that time onward for years going to
Mm.
that ostrich farm and learning everything that I could learn. And always in
Okay.
the back of my head, I want ostrich in Belize. Well, I
Okay.
came back to Belize and several times had to reinvent myself, as you already know. But I
Mhm.
applied from at Baja, maybe like now it's gonna be like 15 years ago, to
Okay.
have ostrich, and they told me no, and that can't happen, and I would apply and apply again and apply
Yeah.
again, and I think they probably thought I had lost my mind or whatever. They started ignoring me. But
Okay.
when COVID hit, um,
Yes. Yes.
I was working in tourism, and
Mm-hmm.
so obviously all of that crashed, and we didn't know how long COVID was gonna go.
Okay.
So with the little savings I had, the reserves I had, I started helping people. I had at the farm a couple families and domestic violence issues that were happening, and the
Mm-hmm.
police or other people would take people to the farm, and so now I ended up with these people that I was responsible for, and children and mothers.
Yes.
And the farm was feeding all of us. But there
Mm-hmm.
wasn't any cash for anything. And I started thinking, and I told my husband, I said, Belize needs a new industry, because at this point we're thinking we need to do something else because tourism isn't secure. Like, look at what happened. And we're
Yes.
thinking, what else? Um, I said, I grew up in agriculture. I can do agriculture, but we've Belize has lost its agriculture industry to other
Right.
ethnicities. We've
Right.
lost
Right.
our food security. We've lost trade and commerce, and we've
Mm-hmm.
almost lost tourism now. So what is left for Belize? And then I
Right.
said, well, we need to create something new that is going to
Mm-hmm.
be Belizean, that is going to be local, that our local people can do. And
Yes.
I told him, I said, I'm going to do an ostrich farm.
Okay.
And he looked at me and smiled. And I think he half thought I had gone mad, and then
Uh-huh.
half was worried because he knows that if I say I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and he said, "Where are you gonna get it from?"
Mm-hmm.
I said,
Mm-hmm.
"Well, there's several ways to get it if they would just give me my license."
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
a few months down the line, I heard a rumor that Baja had found some illegal ostriches that came in, and they
Oh.
had confiscated it.
Okay.
And I was calling, and obviously forestry told me to lie. That's just false rumors. Baja told me the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
as destiny has it, the owner of the ostriches called to say, I I have these ostriches, and Baja
Very
confiscated it,
nice.
but they gave it back.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I asked, I think it was Dickie. I don't remember if it was Dickie Bradley. And then I called. I called several attorneys,
Mm-hmm.
and I asked, if government takes something from you and then they return it, does that mean that they're legitimizing it? And every single one of those attorneys told me yes. If
Okay.
government gives it back, they legitimize it. So I said, okay, great. So I
Okay.
bought it. So I bought them
Yes. Yes.
from this person, and this
Mm.
person is very politically connected, and
Yes.
so the ostriches were brought to my farm. But as soon as forestry and Baja found out that I had them, I started getting threats. They're gonna take them away. I can't
Really?
have them. They are wildlife. All of this
Ah.
stuff, and I found that unfair. And if you know anything about me, if
Mm-hmm.
the ugly face of injustice really
Yes.
angers me. I don't
Yes.
like injustice. I don't like injustice against any ethnicity. I don't like it against any social class. I don't like
Mm-hmm.
any of that. And so
Mm-hmm.
I felt, wait, because I'm not heavily politically connected, I can't have them just turn these
Mm-hmm.
exact same animals, or
Mm-hmm.
and so I decided I was gonna fight. So I called the media and I said, well, I have in those days it was called a phantom ostrich, because everybody heard of them but nobody saw them.
Yes. Yes.
They
Yes.
were well hidden. And
Okay.
so I opened up the farm to the media and I said, I have them, but government wants to take them, but that's not
Mm.
fair. And I explained. And
Right.
luckily for me, the Belizean public took my side. And
Okay.
lucky for me, the principals and teachers of schools decided this is an opportunity for students that cannot travel to learn to see this great, the largest bird in the world, here in
Yeah.
Belize. And they
Ah.
started requesting visits.
Ah.
And so I had to, when I called the Ministry of Education and Health, and everybody. I felt like everybody was ganging up on me at that point, and my only savior was the Ministry of Education, where I said,
Okay.
"Okay, your schools want to visit. What can I do to
Mm-hmm.
become safe for children? Can you certify me as a safe place for children to visit?" And they said,
Okay.
"Yes, you need restrooms and you need to have a place where children can buy food and buy drinks because you're out
Ah.
of the way."
Ah.
And I was like, "Oh my God, how am I gonna afford all of that? We're just coming out of COVID."
Yes.
So
Yes. 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 Yes.
my son is an architect, And I called him and I said, you have a week to design a building that is pretty, cheap, and
Mm-hmm.
fast. And he's
Yes,
like,
yes,
what
yes.
the hell? What are we doing? He's like, what? He said, the architecture takes a while, mother. It's not just overnight like that. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
oh, baby, you can do it. And I really need it within a week.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
and he came out with the concept of gabion. And
Okay.
and he said this is the fastest, it's the cheapest, and I think
Mm.
it can look good. And he combined it with wood, and he did a wonderful job. And we built our restaurant. So kids had shelter, they had food and drinks. We built the restrooms,
Yes.
and it was all within budget. So I was
Okay.
very blessed because as much as government was pushing, um,
Mm-hmm.
they were putting blocks on the road, and I was finding solutions. um, and I thought, maybe this is, I don't know, God's way, destiny's way, the way the universe is
Yes.
pushing me to where I needed to be. And
Okay.
so I accepted it. And I, at that point, stopped fighting them on everything and decided I'm only going to fight them for my license. But
Mm-hmm.
everything that they tell me to do, I will comply. And that's what I did. And that's how the farm was built, because government was pushing me and putting blocks on the road. And as they're putting the blocks, we're building whatever they tell us we needed. And here we are.
So okay. So ostrich is a good, okay. You accept visits. That is one.
Mhm.
Ostrich for food security. Good meat or no? Good meat.
It's the healthiest meat in the world.
Ah.
Very low fat, very lean, very high protein.
Mm,
It's very, very healthy.
mm,
Ostrich is a very, very good industry for Belize. You use
okay.
everything from the ostrich, and at the farm we use more than everything. We use the
Ah.
meat for food.
Uh-huh.
We use the skin for leather. We do
Ah.
hats, boots, bags, everything
Uh-huh.
with the leather. We use the feathers for fashion or for cleaning, doing dusters, jewelry. We eat the eggs. We use the shell to make lamps, to make jewelry, to just paint them. The oil is the gold of the ostrich. We use the oil. We created a whole cosmetic line with the
Mm,
oil of the ostrich. And then we use the bones uh,
okay.
to do jewelry as well right now. Um, and then the waste of the ostrich, we use it for fertilizer. So
Ah.
literally every part of the
Everything.
ostrich is can
Okay.
be used to create industry, to earn
Okay.
money.
Okay. So
And then of
now,
course, and
ah,
then of course you have the agrotourism aspect where visitors are welcome to visit the farm and to eat the
uh-huh,
food. It's a farm to
uh-huh,
table. Um,
uh-huh.
our farm actually completes 100 years of being in the family this year, from since Granddad bought it back then from more forest estates to where it is
Uh-huh.
now.
Uh-huh.
2026 is 100 years. So
Location again? Location?
Georgeville, we're right
Look.
on the highway.
Okay. There's a sign, right? There's a sign.
There is a sign. There is a sign there, and you can find us on Google Maps. Just look for Ranch Crafico Park on Google Maps, and you can find us there.
Very good. Very good. Ah, well, yeah, 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 yeah. Wow.
It's been quite a journey,
Of course, it's quite a journey and more to go.
and more to
Yes,
go.
yes, more to go. Now, because you're walking and chewing gum, I want to talk back about the party. Belize People's
Hmm.
Front.
Yes.
Training and preparing for to be competitive. To preparing so the party be competitive. What is being done regarding training and preparation?
Well, let me tell you this, Percy.
Uh-huh.
people try to push you, and people try to say, even the PUP and UDP minions try to pretend and say, oh, third parties don't make it because they only pop up during elections. We're 4 years before elections and they're still telling me, oh, but you only pop up during elections. You've been hearing from
Yes.
us from since the onset, from the time we formed the
Yes.
party to now. You have not stopped hearing from us, and you have not stopped
Yes.
hearing from me. So
True.
that kind of
True.
rhetoric is just to distract people, to distract the weak minds that listen. So
I agree.
let's get that out of the way. The next thing they say, oh, third parties, they're not prepared. They don't have anybody that knows what they're talking about. Well, let me
Mhm.
tell you something. When the People's United Party got into power, I got two contracts from them. Two
Okay.
contracts from them. If I didn't know what I was talking about, would they have given me a contract? Would they have asked me to be
No.
the director of New Growth Industries? Would I have
No.
gotten a contract to actually do the strategic plan for New Growth Industries? No, I would
No.
not have gotten, because I don't think they issue out contracts to people that don't know what they're talking about.
Yes.
So
Yes. I agree.
that is
Agree.
out of the window as well. We know what we're talking about. We know what Belize needs, and the reason we know it is because we live it. We live the struggle of the people. So we know exactly where we want to take the country, and we know how to do it. And the preparation that I have been doing with the candidates is political formation. They have been learning political formation, how a political party is run, what what is your philosophy. So a lot of people have thoughts and they don't know this is what forms your political philosophy. This is what tells us how you're going to perform. And we have to know that your political philosophy is aligned to what the country needs, not what the party stands for, because the party stands for what our country needs. I have seen in the past where, because I wear a beret because of my military background. I wear a beret because it stands for a lot more than just what people think it stands for me. But no, the PUP said, oh, she's the daughter of El Che. So the people, their minions, go ahead and say, oh, she's socialist, she's communist. I am none of that. I do not want to be placed in a box. I am none of anything like that. I am My political philosophy is that Belize needs a new type of politics. This is a new era. We need a new everything. We need to revamp this country. This country needs to stand finally for what our people needs. We need to look at the ethnicity of our people. We need to look at the culture of our people and give the people what the people deserve. We need to stop the thieving in government so that the economy can be enough for our people. We need for these
Yes.
ministers that own thousands upon thousands of acres of land to give it back to the people. We have
Mhm.
Garifuna people in the south. We have Maya people in the south. They need land. They need to farm. The reason our farmers do not cannot produce what the country needs is because we don't give them the tools that they need to do it, and it starts from land. And the rich holds
Aye.
all the land where the poor cannot even get a piece of lot. I went to apply for land. I wanted 50 acres to do a macadamia plantation, and I needed elevation.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
hunted this country, and government told me, oh, but farmers cannot apply for 50 acres. Why can I not apply for 50 acres when you have foreigners that come to this country that own thousands upon thousands of acres, when the ministers
Yes.
themselves own thousands of acres, but a farmer cannot own 50 acres?
Mhm.
This is the injustice that the Belize People's Front needs to get rid of. We need to get rid of those kinds of privilege and make sure that the riches of this country is distributed to the people of this country, so our farmers can produce again. We can't produce if we don't have land. We can't produce if we don't get duty exempt. Why is it that the Mennonites have gotten duty exempt for so long, and our local farmers have to jump through hoops to be able to import something? If we want to import a tractor, the amount of taxes that we have to, importation tax, sales tax, environmental tax, all of that falls on us. But when the Mennonites were importing, because they say it was for farming, although they use it for commerce later, we gave them all of the importation. When somebody is moving from the States to come live in Belize, they can fill some forms and they get duty exempt for everything they're bringing in. So why are our people not getting those privilege? This is the injustice that we need to deal with. And what
Yes, yes.
we're training our candidates to see all of that. So they get trained in political formation, in communication, in
Yes.
economy, so that they know how our money, where the money comes from and where it's going, but more importantly, where it should be going. So
Yes.
this is the type of formation that we're doing with our candidates, but also, campaign strategies so they can learn how to speak. We speak together, we discuss things together, and we know where we're going. Nobody is going to speak out of turn or say something that is completely off rocket like we've seen before in third parties. When we decided to run in the 2020 election, this is where people say I gave up, that the PUP tried to tell people that, oh, I disappeared, I gave up. And the weak minds will believe it. The people who have their eyes open will know that I've never, ever shied away from the public. I've always been here. I've always had something to say, and I've always been doing. But 2020, I was against running for that election. We were in the middle of COVID. We couldn't do any fundraising. We couldn't do hardly any campaigning. The media houses are owned by political affiliates or the politicians themselves sometimes. So when we tried to get our advertisement in, we were told, oh, there wasn't space, or they would hike the price up for us to make it so that we can't afford it. And even when we could, they didn't accept it. We would send press releases, we would beg for interviews, and the media didn't cover us. We had to depend on social media. We started late in the game, but since our members wanted to contest that election, I did not shy away from it. I said that the majority will win. We are a democracy, and we went into the election. I warned them that we were not going to make it. We were going to be defeated because the country didn't have a groundswell. The people were not asking for a third party. We came up because we saw the need, because we know that the need has always been there. And everybody in the BPF has good intentions, but it was the wrong time in history to enter an election. As the leader, I have to take full responsibility for that, because I could have said no, but I wanted to be democratic. We didn't shy away. There's a difference between giving up and retreating to regroup and re-strengthen. And that's what we did. We had to retreat. We would have been, if we had continued and contested the last election and continued forward, we would have been dead in the water. Right now, we're alive because we had the wisdom to retreat, regroup, train, and prepare. I will not be one of those third-party leaders that pick up anything that want to run and present that to the country as an option. I do not want to just win an election. I want to know that if I form a team, that team can take Belize to its full potential. That team can be worthy of the trust of the voters of this country. And if I can't do that, then I won't present anything at all. But now I am confident that we can do that. We're getting good people in the BPF. And when we present those people to the country will know that they can trust them.
Yes.
The difference is now there is a groundswell. Now people are calling for a third party. You didn't hear that before. So now we're answering a call. And that is a big difference from 2020 to 2026.
And we are in 2026. Well, yes. So now, is it only going to be looking forward to general election because municipal is coming up and after that village council elections. Talk to me.
We know that the PUP and the UDP have gotten the country accustomed to using the village council elections and the municipal elections as a bar. They measure their popularity, they measure, but we don't believe in that. We believe that our village council, our constitutions that make up these elections say that those things should remain community, and there should be no space for party politics in those elections, because that needs to remain community based.
So
The answer is we're not going to participate.
Not at this time. Not at this time.
Not at this time. I don't want to use the people as a measuring bar. That is not what those elections are made for. Those elections are made to run communities, to strengthen communities. And when political parties interfere in those elections, it creates division. It does not create anything that is good and beneficial for the people. That only serves the purpose of the political party. And for us in the BPF, the party is just a vehicle that will get us to governance. It is not the most important thing. The most important thing for us are our people, not the party, not the colors. That's just a vehicle to get us there.
Yeah. Well, Nancy, if I were to ask you to close answering this one, the chauvinists would come at you about the equal rights in our 1981 Constitution, Independence Constitution, the supreme law of our land. But we're going on 45 years of independence. And I am saying it, we are not experiencing equal rights. There's a lot of discrimination. Starting with discrimination against women. I am saying it, not you. We're not experiencing it on the ground. And part of it is from the clergy. I am saying it, not you. Because they teach that men are born to lead. Anyhow, I wanted to close by telling us about your family, your wonderful family. Because your husband is the one that set you up, make sure your system is up and running this morning, and you have your wonderful children. Tell us about them. And then you sum up. Yeah.
Well, my husband and I were looking at social media just last night, and I had posted a story about our relationship when we met, and I wrote a piece about that.
Okay.
And that got over 26,000 views and likes and everything, more than when I read for my political. So I told him, Jaime, I said, Belizeans are a sucker for romance. My goodness, I didn't expect that. But we're a sucker for a good story.
Yes,
but
yes.
Jaime and I met when we were 5 years old. We have been best friends for our entire lifetime.
Yes.
We got married. When we got married, I was 26, going on 27. And he was 28.
Yes.
I am very, very blessed with him. He balances me. He's a very, very patient man. He's very soft spoken. He's been there. He's stood by me through everything, through all of my wild ideas, through everything. He stood by me, and he stood strong. But what I appreciate more than anything from him is the quality of father that he is. He's I am the type that I would get upset if my daughter doesn't answer my phone, because I've seen so much and I've been an activist and I know what is happening out there, and I call her, she's with friends and she doesn't answer. I get immediately upset and say if something didn't happen to her, it will happen now, And I would tell her
Yes.
that, and he would be the kind of father that would say, no, have some patience, maybe her battery ran out, maybe she's not doing that on purpose. So he brings
Mm-hmm.
balance. My girls adore him. They always take his side against mine, and my son always takes my side. I think that's something of human nature, where the girls love the dad more, and they protect him. um we have four children.
Okay.
My eldest graduated as an esthetician, so she's doing all the
Mm.
botox and that, and
Yes.
doing
Yes.
business. My
Mm-hmm.
son recently graduated as an architect.
Okay.
He's in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have he's 22. My
Okay.
younger daughter, who's 20, she is studying international tourism, also in
Mm.
Mexico. And then
Mm-hmm.
my youngest is 16.
Okay.
Um, she is in high school. And she's her character is much like me. I tell them she's gonna make me pay for all my sins. Um, but yeah, we're normal. I think Belizean family. I I try to be a little strict. Of course, they don't listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
We go through all of that. But one of the very unique things that I think about our family is that we practice democracy. When a
Mm-hmm.
decision is to be made from very young, the children had a vote. We don't hide if we have financial struggles. They know about it, because everybody has to tighten their belts when that happens. When we're
Mm-hmm.
going to make an investment, if it's buying a car or anything at all, if we're going on family vacations, they get a vote.
Yes.
When I'm going to be involved in politics, they get to vote about it, because they get to help as well. And we work together. Everybody has their part in the at the farm. All of my assets, they all own. We have a company. They all have shares, so they all have a vote. Um, and usually they start off by voting against me, and then I have to convince them. So my convincing skills is on par.
Okay. Last question.
Sure.
This is a hypothetical. Belize begins to vote for prime minister, right? We begin to vote, just like they vote for president here and there.
Hmm.
And you are running, right? Contesting to become
Right.
prime minister of Belize.
Right.
Why should people vote for you?
I believe that people should vote for me, because I have been in the struggle with people. I have not been one of the elitists that don't know the problems. I am very aware. I'm on the ground. Um, I know I know the dream of Belize, and I know where we want to go. I know how to get there. I think I have proven myself in managing crisis, in finding solutions. Um, but Belize, I have a dream for Belize, and I think Belizeans will be able to relate. When I was younger, I enjoyed walking around in the neighborhood, playing marbles with the neighborhood kids on the street. Um, we would we actually were known to, like, steal the canoes from Chalk Creek, from McFleming's. We would steal the canoes and go on the river, go all the way to from Chalk Creek. We roll all the way to Cristo Rey. I got into a lot of trouble, but that's childhood. Thank if Mick Flemings ever sees this, he will remember that I did ask him for forgiveness. but um but those are the kind of adventures that I want our children to have. But
Okay.
nowadays it is too dangerous. The gang activities, the drugs, the alcohol has gotten
Mm-hmm.
to a level that we need, in those aspects, we need to value order above freedoms. In that aspect, only in that
Yes.
aspect. I don't want
Yes.
anybody to take my words and twist it, but only in that aspect. because we need to secure Belize again. Our
Yes.
families need to know that if our children go out for the day, they can go camping, they can go canoeing, they can play in the streets at 7, 8 at night like we used to, and
Yeah.
that they will come home safe. And the safety of our children, of our families, is priority. Um, I'm a mother, and I feel every time I see a mother on TV crying because they did not get to say goodbye to their children that
Mm-hmm.
were shot on the street or
Mm-hmm.
died, in violence. It's
Mm-hmm.
heart wrenching. And
Yes.
Belize knows that I care about these things. That's why I created the stop the bleed training. Not just we did it for the
Okay.
police, but not just for the police, for scouts. We do it for the scouts because our children go out in the wilderness, and,
Mm-hmm.
and the
Yes.
scouts of
Yes.
Belize need to know how to take care of themselves out there. So we invited them
Yes.
to the training, and they've taken the basic and the advanced training. We train our
Mm-hmm.
community health workers, our firefighters, and I
Mm-hmm.
I do this through my pocket and those
Mm-hmm.
and that of the U.S. universities that participate with me.
Okay.
Um, the fact that an individual like myself
Mm-hmm.
will think about doing something like that without ever
Mm-hmm.
being in power. I'm not using taxpayers' money. I'm not using
Yes.
government influence. I believe
Mm-hmm.
that it is time that Belizeans start to compare the quality of leaders that we're voting for.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at anybody in the PUP or the UDP, they have done nothing in their privately until they get into power. Then you hear about them. But we need to start looking at, what do you do when you're not in power? What have you done
Yes.
before you entered politics? Because that
Yes.
is the quality of leaders that we are getting, and
Yeah.
that is what I look for when candidates apply to BPF. I say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
but what have you done? Have you served Belize in any way? Have you served in the police force? Have you been a part of any community projects that we can
Yes.
tell that you love Belize? Show me that you love Belize, and I will know
Yes.
why you want to run. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
anybody that wants to run like the PUP and the UDP just to gain. This
Mm-hmm.
is not about that. Um, and in fact, Percy, I need to tell you, um, I told my husband and I told my executive, I want 5 years of governance. I don't want any more. And I don't
Okay.
want to collect a salary from government when I'm
Oh.
elected. I do
Okay.
not I do not want money to ever have to influence any decisions that I have to make for Belize.
Mm.
And so it's not because I'm not rich. I'm a farmer. But my
Okay.
ambition is to retire at my farm and live in
Mm.
peace and live low profile. I have done in my youth, I have done all the traveling and gallivanting that I needed to do. I don't need that anymore. I
Okay.
need till 5 years so that I could clean up this country from the crime. It is not hard. We're a small country, we're a small population. It can be done, but it needs somebody
Yes.
to do it with political courage. And I
Mm.
think if police knows anything about me, they will know that I do have the courage to do it. I do have the
Mm.
courage to make those hard calls that needs to be made. I need to bring justice. I need to make an example of those politicians that have stolen from Belize, that have engaged in corruption, that have damaged
Mm.
our country. They need to be brought to justice. And then I can retire at my farm happy and know that I have left a clean country for the next
Yes.
generation to continue.
Mm.
But I don't think that with all consciousness, I can retire, I can die in peace, knowing that I didn't do anything to leave a better country for the next generation. That is not fair to them. And that
It's
is why
true.
I'm doing what I'm doing.
Well, continue keeping your humanity lit, my friend, because in so doing, you have integrity, meaning wanting for everyone else the same things you want for yourself and your family.
Thank you.
Because people see that you're a person of integrity, they give you their trust. They only demand promissory notes from some politicians who, who they cannot trust.
Yeah.
All the best, and I hope we can talk again sometime. But in the meantime, I will certainly make it my business to identify the location of this farm and come and say hi to you and your family. Warm
Yes.
regards. Have a good
Please
one.
do. Please
Okay.
do. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.